As you will have noticed, CSPro does not have a data type specifically for dates, and the general recommendation is to use an 8-digit item for the date with sub-items for the day, month and year. But how would we check for invalid dates? We don't want people to be able to enter dates such as the 30th of February, although I have seen this on a data collection sheet. One of the big problems with dates is that they can be displayed in different ways. For example, if we gave the date as 09/02/2012, depending partly on where you are, this might be the 9th of February, or it could be the 2nd of September. Dates can also cause problems when you transfer them between different software packages, as different packages treat dates in different ways. A possible solution is to use sub-items for the day, month and year. But this does lead to other problems, as we shall see. When transferring between packages, we would suggest transferring the sub-items, so the 3 variables, so they become separate variables in your resulting package. You can then combine them using commands within the destination package to create a properly formatted date variable. We've already been working with sub-items for the dates, and the image here shows how they appear in the dictionary file. On the data entry forms, you can display either the main item or the sub-items, but you can't include both the sub-items and the main item, so you need to decide which is better. Let's look at the options. With an 8-digit item, you have the option to show a calendar control on the data entry form when you come to enter a date. You can select a date directly from the calendar. So if we select the 23rd of April 2013, the digits 27042013 would be displayed in the date item on the form. Note the calendar control is only available if you have the main date item on the form. As well as selecting the date from the calendar, you can type the digits directly. However, when you do this, there is no way to prevent rubbish being entered. The calendar control will attempt to display the matching month, but as you can see in this example, you can type rubbish. We entered here the 95th day of the 84th month in the year 5456. CSPro has displayed the calendar for April of that year. It was April when this image was captured, but clearly we want to try and stop such silly dates. We can create value sets on the sub-items of the date, so the day we would say valid values were between 1 and 31. For the month we could have valid values between 1 and 12, or we could list the months as shown here. Putting value sets and therefore restrictions on the sub-items would seem to be ideal. However, value set restrictions only work if the sub-items are on the form and the data is entered directly into the sub-items. But as we know, we cannot have both the items and the sub-items on the form. So if we want to use the calendar control, we cannot use the value set restrictions. So let's look at an alternative. Here we can see a procedure to run after data is entered into the main date item. In the code, we are referring to the sub-items and checking the values for each to be within the expected range. We're using an if statement to run on this check. We first check the day, which must be between 1 and 31. If that's okay, we move on. And we check the month, which should be between 1 and 12. Finally, we check the year. If any of the conditions is not satisfied, we are given an appropriate error message and will need to re-enter the date. The code on the previous slide checks for each component being within the correct range. But what about trapping things like the 30th of February? Well, here we have some code that looks at the month and the day to see whether the month has too many days. Firstly, if it's the 31st of the month, we check to see whether the month is September, April, June, November or February. Note how the error message here has a parameter. When the message appears, %d will display the value from int month. The next check is particular to February, which we know never has 30 days. The final check looks for leap years. In the range of years we have set, the only leap years are 2012, 2016 and 2020. If the year is not one of these, but we have a date of the 29th of February, then we have an error. So there are some options for you to try. There are 4 date fields on the questionnaire, and for this practical session you should try the different options. Try using sub-items on the form with or without value sets. Try using the full item with extended controls so you can pick the date. Create procedures to check the validity of the dates. When you have tried all the options, you will be in a better position to decide which combination of options works best for you. Discuss your choice on the forum and see what options others prefer.